Hey everyone, it's MetaGamesGX here, and we are going to be doing my updated branded Azamina deck profile. This is a 50 card Azamina branded list, and a lot of testing went into it with my boy Yuri Diaz. And also, I have a branded spreadsheet available. If you guys want to support the channel, make sure to click the like button, and let's get right into it. Obviously, 3 Fallen of Albaz, he is the boy, and then 3 Aluber, 1 Quem, and then 2 Cartesia. So this is the lineup that really doesn't change. A lot of people have come onto my streams and told me like I'm incorrect for running 1 Quem, and I feel bad for pushing this stigma for a while, but I think ever since Branded Fusion went to 1, this just kind of changed, and now that Puppet's banned, yes, 2 Quem is nice and fulfills some combo lines, but I think the positive of running it and not bricking on it going second far outweighs the benefits of running the double Quem, because double Quem allows you to play through certain combinations of hand traps with branded opening. However, just running 1 means you aren't going to open it, which you never want to open it, and then also it allows you to not brick on it going second. And then 2 Cartesia. I think we're on 50 card. You don't really have to run more than that. Some days I want to run less Albaz, but we're also compensating for running multiple Dark Dragons, so you guys will probably know what I mean by that if you are a branded veteran. So 1 Springans Kitt, and then 1 Albion the Shrouded Dragon. So, of course, 1 Albion the Shrouded Dragon, and then 1 Springans Kitt. I've actually debated on running multiple of this, but I just hate drawing like multiple in the same hand. This is just like a super labbed out build that I've made where a lot of the consistency of it is completely thought out and like the mathematics on it. So I was just like running the numbers, and running 2 to 3 Shrouded just means that I'm drawing way too many hands where I open up multiple, and then also drawing Shrouded off of Shrouded isn't great. And so running the 1 just maximizes my consistency on it. It gets me there. I always end up getting to it. It's fine at 1. And then 1 Springans Kitt. You have to run this. I see some people not running it, but you have to run it. You have to run it for the grind game to get back Branded Fusion from being banished. It's just one of your best cards in your whole deck, honestly. And then we're going to get into some of the extra monsters. We have 1 Ido. So we're going to get into some of the extra monsters now. We have 1 Tri-Brigade Mercourier because we have to run this. This is one of our best interruptions. You search off Branded Lost, and you always are able to basically have a free interruption. It can be chain blocked, but it is very good for that reason because it does not target, so it's very good. You have to run it. We're not running Despia and Tragedy because just once again, trying to cut down on the bricking of this deck so you can go first and going second. You can always break the boards while also having like extenders plus combo pieces. So I think cutting the Tragedy meant that we don't open Tragedy and brick on it. So I think that's very good. And overall, Tragedy isn't something that I'm ever losing not having in my deck. So I think overall, cutting the Tragedy, I have not missed it. And you guys have seen me test it on stream, and it's been great not having Tragedy. Honestly, I feel like I've won plenty of games from just not bricking on it. And then before we get into our engines, we're going to show off the 1 Ido. So Ido is a lock card. This card is basically the new lock. It's the new gimmick puppet. What it says is your opponent cannot special summon, or you cannot special summon or normal summon monsters. You cannot tribute set either. So like this was also a confusion I had on the last deck profile. Basically, you even if your opponent tries to like basically tribute set a monster, you can't do that with Ido. So basically it's gimmick puppet as long as your opponent doesn't have a Book of Eclipse or Forbidden Droplet, which could very well be the case with both of those cards. Droplet being popular next format, and Book of Eclipse being very popular into this format and into next. So I'd be careful with that, but I think this is still very much worth it to run. I've done so much testing with the deck, and overall, I think Brand is still very good with the lock. Sanctifier is still alive, and overall, you're putting your opponent on better habit so that the lock ends up just usually winning you the game. And on top of that, you can layer your end boards. You're running Azamina and you're getting lots of free advantage. So of course you're going to be able to run multiple different engines, and this just helps you layer on top of those engines. I think I really like it. Also, I think you need it going second versus Maliss right now. So I think that's also why like you can crack their board, but if you can't get like a Quertus OTK plan on it, you need to set this card up so they can't play the game basically. So I like it for going second against Maliss, surprisingly. Also, it's a high spirits bridge with Quertus since it's a fiend, so it's not bad. And you can set off a Grand Guignol since it's a level 6 dark, so that's why it's you know, equivalent to a gimmick puppet because it's very searchable. You don't just send it off a branded fusion. All right, so now we have the Bystial Lubellion, and then Bystial Magnamhut, and then Bystial Saronir. But then we're also running the Bystial Druiswurm, which is something new to our builds, and then one bit branded regain to round out the Bystial package, because I know that a lot of people do not typically see branded regained and branded anymore. I think branded regained used to be, you know, it's a branded card, but a lot of other decks have been using branded regain, such as Fiend Smith and even Malice. Any deck, a lot of decks have just been running a lot of Lubellions and like Druiswurm plus regained and Magnamhut, and I figured we could incorporate a similar engine into the deck because if it works in other decks, it should be able to work in ours, and this gives us great going second potential. Basically, Lubellion is a board breaker, and I've debated on running multiple, but it's once again with the mathematics thing. I don't want to open multiple Lubellion, especially when I'm at already 50 cards. So, like, it's just not, you know, it's a great card. I want to see it in every hand, but I don't want to see it more than one. So, you know, you can go Lubellion, search the Druiswurm. Druiswurm can end up targeting the Fiendsmith Ryzeal in graveyard or anything of that nature, or a Malice, you know, link in the graveyard that can't be banned. Like, hazard, like, or sorry, target like a Link Rebo in the graveyard against Malice and get it on the field, and then Druiswurm immediately threatens basically the Terahertz, and also you can just fuse it off with the Cartesia, and then you can send the detonator, also once again threatening Ryzeal, at least forcing the field spell, but also getting you advantage by banishing, like I said, the Fiendsmith cards. So I think the one of Druiswurm is very much worth it, and it just helps our going second potential a lot. Magnamhut obviously just is so good. It's basically a Rhoda going second, so I think you need to run it. And then the Regained, if you don't know, now you're going to find out. Regained basically solos the Malice deck, because if you chain branded Regained on any of their normal summon monsters that end up banishing and then using their effect in the banishment to basically summon itself, you can chain branded Regained as chain link 2 to spin back the monster being summoned or trying to be summoned, and then spin it back to the deck, and then they use its effect and they can't extend, and that's a huge neg to Malice. They are most likely going to die there because they have to have like a Gold Sark or a field spell if they haven't used it already. And then you also are, you probably already took away their normal summon, so like you basically just have to stop one more interaction and you win the game, or you win the game outright. Also, on top of that, you get to draw 2 cards off of it, which is crazy, because on your turn when you banish something, you can draw a card. Then on your opponent's turn when something is banished, you can draw a card. So going first, this card is insane this format. We're not on hand traps in the main deck, but we are on hand traps in the side deck. So being able to draw those hand traps games 2 and 3 is very good. And then also just game 2, I'm not like really trying to set like, or game 1, I'm not really trying to set regain, but games 2 and 3 regain sometimes just feels better than lost a lot of the time. Especially, once again, Malice is one of our worst matchups, so having something to help like make that matchup even easier is definitely something good. It's not even bad going second against Malice either, because they still have to like resolve their effects in the banishment, so the regain ends up threatening something at least. And once again, the Lubellion can at least get the Druiswurm, and then you go Lubellion, Druiswurm effect, and then you can get Lubellion into regained. So you're forcing multiple different cards just off the Lubellion, which is why I kind of want to run multiple. So that's something, once again, you can consider yourself. And then for the last package, we are also, obviously, this is Azamina Branded. So we are running the classic 1 Diabellstar, 1 Hallowed Azamina, and then 3 Wanted Poster. We finally got these in the mail. Shell Card Trader. And then 1 Deception of the Sinful Spoils. So yes, these cards are great, honestly, in Branded. So a lot of the time, this just is a better, like, Nadir Servant, in my opinion, because a lot of the time, this is getting you a draw off a Wanted, so that's why we run the 3 Wanted. But then it also gets you into the Omni Negate Azamina Sylvia, which is going to give you a really nice edge into hand traps, so you never lose going first, essentially, if you draw Wanted plus, like, Aluber. And then, like, if you draw Cartesia on top of that, you play through, like, 3 hand traps at that point. It's really crazy. So, depending on, like, the other 2 cards in hand, for sure. So, and then on top of that, you get advantage, and then you have a fusion in graveyard. They can fuse off for Mirror Jade, which is nice. Or, this is a constantly recurring engine, so you can obviously go Azamina, spin back the Sylvia in your graveyard, and then just do the whole process over again, and then just make the Sylvia basically on every turn, which is important in the current game because the games are going to turns 3 to 5 at the moment, which is really cool to see. I love Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment, honestly. I love playing Branded, I love playing other decks, and there's a lot more interaction, not as many FTK decks. I think that might change post Suda, and I think this build is going to be very good post Suda, so that's why I'm releasing it now. I still think this is going to be 100% the build I would run post Suda. There are new Diabellstar cards coming out in post Suda or Supreme Darkness that are pretty good, I will not lie. And the new LZ you will be able to run also, so you could possibly drop the Wanted. I don't know if I'm going to want to do that. I still have to do testing on that, but also it's not going to change the engine too much. Essentially, just a couple of these numbers, like you might take out the Wanteds for the LZs and then take out the Diabellstar and the Deception. It just depends. So that's just for what it's worth. And then also we're not running the Soul because I just don't think that Soul is very... I have a Soul right here, right? No, I don't. We're not running the Soul just because it's a great card to like go second with, but I just like, I think that this is good enough going second. You just force interruptions with it anyway, so. And then once again, this is like a draw card. Wanted just gets you a Omni Negate plus like cards in rotation for like Branded Fusion or like Cartesia, which is good. And then a draw, so it's very good for that reason. Just draw power is always good in Branded, so like it does like so much just like in one engine, so that's why I think it like outweighs things like Allura Darkness and stuff like that and Nadir Servant, so. Alright, so we're going to be quick with the branded cards. They're really standard. 1 branded Fusion, 1 branded Red, 3 branded Opening, 1 branded Lost, 3 branded in High Spirits. I think this should probably be mandatory at 3 right now. There's builds where you run one of this and like less like Bestials essentially, but I think right now playing through things like Mulcharmy, you know, having an option to play through like even the random Droll is really important because Droll's looking good at post Supreme Darkness. I think this is very important to run at 3. Also, just like, yeah, it's just so good for combo lines as well. You could run 1 if you want to like cut down to 45 though. And then 1 branded Banishment for the Lad line. Also, you can make Dracos Depelia off of this, which is nice. Also, it's a very good thrust target if you already have duplication. 1 branded Retribution for the grind game. And then 1 fusion duplication. Or, sorry, no, the fusion duplication should be on the side. So, yeah, we'll get through those. And then the generic extenders / board breakers. 3 fusion deployment. It just gets you Albaz or Cartesia. You always start with this card before Aluber. And then the board breakers, 3 super poly, and then 3 Book of Eclipse. I was talking to Yuri Diaz about the super poly. I was running droplets, but I think that also Crab, shout out to Crabs, man. I think super poly also just like this is the card you want to have against Maliss. A lot of the time, your best play going second is normal summon Aluber, and then they chain like Imperm or something, and then you just like go super poly, make a Quertus, and then like you make it super awkward for either Maliss or Ryzeal because like you're gonna force the Quertus and get like a free Mirror Jade, or you're gonna basically OTK or like, you know, start piecing together OTKing their board. So it's very good. And then Book of Eclipse is just like the best board breaker of this format. It cracks the Ryzeal board. Like if you top deck this in a grind game versus a Ryzeal full board, you crack the whole board. If you have like an Aluber, it's crazy. So it's just like you have to run it. And then going first for all the Imperms and Veilers, it's so good. So it's just like mandatory in my opinion. I just think Super Poly is like more of the thing you could potentially like run Droplet or something. I'm trying Super Poly. It worked out very well for the locals. So yeah, I do like Super Poly. And also I don't run any Super Poly targets besides just like Dracos Depelia and then Quertus and then the Albaz targets. I don't think you need Garura or Mud Dragon. I think if you're making either of those, you're just losing the game essentially already. And then 3 Thrust, 1 Talents. These cards are just broken, and then 1 Duplication. You have to run it, in my opinion. I was playing a build where I was running like 3 Talents, no Thrust. I've been, I was advised to run basically 3 thrust. It worked out. I do think this is a very good build too. And then 1 called by. So that is the 50 card build. Then we'll go to the extra deck. 1 Mirror Jade. I'm running 1 because I would run 2 at regional most likely. I just think there's a lot of times where like ramming a Mirror Jade and having the 2 in rotation is very good. I'm just running the 1 for right now. I like having the toolbox extra deck and it does the job really, but you could definitely run the second. If I am to cut anything, I'd cut the Stapelia, 1 Lubellion, and then 2 Albion, and then 1 Titanclad, and then 1 Renbrum, and then 1 Sanctifier. Renbrum's just incredible. I think a lot of our end boards, you need to like insulate your board with like multiple Albazes in graveyard, so you can always just send Renbrum off of a Mirror Jade and have a real interruption. That's why also having card advantage is very important. Like, that's why Wanted's great for the draw, and then 1 Sanctifier because you still run the lock. Also, it's just like good for evenly and stuff like that, even though people aren't really on it. And then 2 Grand Guignol. This is something where I was running only 1 for a while, but I still think I want the second. It's come up way too much between testing between me and Yuri, so I think like running the second is still just very important, especially if you're locking. Also, just like for the grind game, it's very nice to just like keep things in rotation, always have something to make off of Cartesia, since you do run 2 Cartesia. So like, I think it's pretty good for that reason. And then 1 Lad. This card's so good. This card's like actually just like the boss monster of this deck. I make this card basically on every end board that I can. Like, as long as I'm able to end on Lubellion, that's how I know I'm setting banishment to make this guy, because I'm like, okay, why would I not make a triple Omni negate, you know? It's like Dragon Master Magia, but better. People ask me if they should run that in Branded, and it's like, no, just run this. It's way better. Plus, it like revives a monster. Also, it's just like it can reset itself because you run Book of Eclipse, so if they use up the lad and then go to play the game, you can go Book of Eclipse, reset the lad, and it's just really broken. Or if they, also catches like bad players off guard because of how it's a mandatory effect. So it's just a lot of people don't know how to deal with that, just at a lower skill level. So that's just like always a decent thing to just like ignorantly make like lad boards like like rounds 1 through 5, honestly. That's why I feel like you need the lock though, because like a good player will just like, with board breakers will just like out this still, but like they're still gonna be on 3 cards. So like your other interruptions like Mercourier and like whatever your board breakers, Mirror Jade will just take care of it, or lock be his full combo. It's like Azamina plus this plus lock, which is like really good. And then 1 Despia and Quertus, which I should have done before. It is very good. You need it this format. Ryzeal and Maliss have very tough times dealing with this card. Also, it's just floating off a Grand Guignol. We are running 2 Grand Guignol and only 1 Quem and no Dogmatic Maximus. So yeah, I think you just need it. Also, once again, OTK lines going second against Maliss. You literally can't kill Maliss going second if you don't run this card. So I think this card's like quite literally mandatory and somewhat same against Ryzeal. 1 Stapelia, 1 Querta or Guardian Chimera, and then 1 Borreload Furious Dragon. Yeah, so these guys just like pop back row, and then yeah, I still see a lot of people have started cutting some of these cards. They're the boys. I just don't see myself cutting them anytime soon. I think Guardian Chimera comes up quite literally like every game for me. In games 2 and 3, I start drawing the hand traps I'm siding in. So like, I think Guardian Chimera gets like way better when you start running hand traps, and then you're already running Branded Regain on top of Wanted. So you're like starting to run or draw like 4 to 5 cards between you and your opponent's turn. You're like playing Centurion at that point. And then yeah. And then for the side deck, we'll go over quickly for Solemn Strikes. 3 Solemn Strikes rather. This card's like the best going first card in the game right now. A lot of like Ryzeal and like Maliss decks are like just siding or maining this right now, because it stops Bystials, it stops like basically any inherent summons such as like Detonator or like any Maliss card. It stops hand traps, so it's just like its coverage is like wider than the ocean, so it's just very good and you should run it. You could even possibly even like main this, like literally it's like that good. I've heard some people say it's decent going second. I'd beg to differ. I don't think it is. I'd never side this going second, but maybe I'm not seeing something. Just wanted to mention it. 3 Lancia. Shout out to the... Yeah, you need to run this. I would also have a Sanctum, but I also just think if I owned one, but I also think that you shouldn't lose game 1 or you shouldn't lose going first against Maliss on this build. Like the Azamina engine kind of just solos Maliss, especially when a lot of them aren't running hand traps right now. That might change post Suda, so like we'll see how that goes. But I think this is mandatory at 3. You could also just choose to run the Sanctum, but like you already have so many options going first between like the strikes and stuff. You shouldn't really be losing that. And then for more board breakers, 1 Feather Duster, because this is like the best board breaker in the game. I've actually kind of wanted to side or main this, but you just like side in against like every deck essentially. Like it solos Maliss, you just like force all their interactions against Maliss, and then against Ryzeal you get rid of like Imperm plus their field spell. Very good, or like a board breaker. And then for 3 Fuelos, something I wasn't like quite dead set on running. It is a high spirits target, but also I just need to be able to see certain cards. And I'm on 50 cards, so I need draw power going second. So like because of the fact I went to 50 cards, I was like I need to run Fuelos. It's also like so good against Maliss and so good against Ryzeal. A lot of the Fiendsmith Ryzeal decks that just like kind of get soloed by Fuelos. Like you turn off their Fiendsmith engine immediately, and then they have to end on a detonator unless they're just going to draw you board breakers, and you are a board breaker deck. So like Fuelos draws are way more value than, in my opinion, than what like a hand trap deck is getting out of them, because like they're using hand traps, you're not most of the time. But like I said, you're running the Lancia and then you're running Fuelos. And then we have 3 Ultimate Slayer plus 1 Aggregator. So this is something I mentioned, I believe, in my last deck profile that I wanted to run, but I just didn't have, like, I think the pieces. But yeah, no, I think this is incredible right now. Like, I think this is the best board breaker in the game, for besides just Talents. I think Talents on this is the best board breaker, but, like, it's either this or, like, multiple Talents. I just think this, like, solos Ryzeal. Like, quite literally, if you see this on Aggregator, you just, like, win the game against Ryzeal. Any Ryzeal variant, too, so... It's just like very good. And then against, you know, any fusion deck, I guess, like it's very good, but it's mainly there for Ryzeal. You could also run a Bucephalus to send a Garura against Maliss. I've been thinking about doing that, but that's like literally 2 extra cards for like just the Maliss matchup, and you already have enough side decks for the like you side in 3 Fua, you side in the Harpy plus the Lancia going second against Maliss. That's all you need. Also, you could side in the Masquerade, because going second, you're gonna really have a hard time like OTKing them. So like making a Masquerade puts them on better. You just always put Masquerade versus Maliss. There's no justifying it. This is like very much there just for Maliss. You need it. I would main it, but like Maliss is the second most represented deck, but like Ryzeal is like way more. So like I can just side this thing going second, going games 2 and 3, and then also just for time. But yeah, Ulti Slayer is crazy. Highly recommend trying it out. It's really crazy in Branded because like it's basically an extender board breaker. Like I've debated on maining it. I have mained it, but it's just like not quick play. So like you're gonna die drawing this going first game 1. So I'm siding it. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching the deck profile. Leave me some comments down below. Remember, check out the spreadsheet down below at my website, www.metagamesgx.com. We did get that domain, so I would appreciate you guys checking that out and then clicking the TCG Player affiliate link down below. Comment down below what you guys thought of the deck profile and let me know where you guys are at your Branded journey and what decks are you guys playing this format. I'm also still playing Fiendsmith Ryzeal. I'm probably taking that to the YCS. I love Branded, but I'm hoping to be taking this to an OTS / regional soon, and I love Branded and it's very good, this format, so I do very much think you guys should try this out and give it a whirl at a tournament. So with that being said, I will be seeing you guys later. Check out the streams also every Monday and Friday. Check out the website, like I said. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. And if this video gets 200 likes, we will do an updated Azamina Branded combo guide. So yeah, we will be seeing you guys later. Bye now.